Hello and welcome back to 1874. It's time for a match preview show as Villa take on West Ham at Villa Park on Sunday at the late time of 4:30 p.m. This show is, as always, sponsored by Luke Roper, and if you want to use their code TVV20, then you'll get 20% off everything that Luke have to offer on their website. I am your host, Dan Bardell, joined by Sky Sports News' David Reid to preview the game. Dave, fresh off air, just finished at Sky Sports News for the transfer shows, and again looking a little bit like a commentator.
Yeah, sorry about that. Couldn't get the AirPods to work. Shambles. So had to go with the McDonald's look today.
Yeah, time to move away from the AirPods now for you, isn't it? I think there's probably the nail in the coffin for the AirPods in this show.
Just too many times. It's just too many times. They just never work.
Yeah, it's not good. Not reliable. Not
No.
reliable. We need reliability on this show because there's lots of things that could go wrong. We need the extra reliability factor.
If there's one thing this show needs, it's reliability.
Yeah. Right then. Oh, interesting from David Styles early on saying, I read Jacob's piece saying that Prince William spends time on Villa forums and places like this. Who's going to confess that they are in fact royalty? I mean, I would wager that he probably does listen and watch a fair few of the Villa podcasts out there. I have been told previously that he does listen to mine, but I don't know how true that was. But someone ITK did tell me that.
Was it Prince William?
No, it wasn't Prince William. I've not seen the Prince, unfortunately. But no, I have been told that he. I mean, you imagine if he's on the forums. The forums are quite old school. You imagine he has a lot of travelling. He may listen to the podcast. So if you are listening or watching Prince William, feel free to come on the show anytime. We're both big fans of you, and if you want to come on and preview a game, you are very, very welcome to do it. So yeah, nice. Okay then. Let's preview the game, David. Me and you were just speaking before we came on whilst people were complaining about us being late. We were just having a nice little chat anyway that we should have probably saved for the podcast. Just looking at the league table, looking at the fixtures this weekend, this game, home game against West Ham, a team we beat a few weeks ago, does present an opportunity, given some of the fixtures, for Villa to get themselves up the table away from 8th. Bournemouth are playing Forest this weekend at home, I think, so that's a tough game for them. Newcastle, unfortunately, are away at Southampton, so we can probably write that one off and not mention it at all. And then it's Man City against Chelsea as well, David. So 4th v 5th this weekend. That does present an opportunity for Villa if they can get it right, and they'll know what's happened as well because they are the last game of the weekend. It does present a chance to move up.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think Villa, I think they're tracking about 7th or 8th in the kind of expected table at the moment. And if Villa are going to have to, if Villa are going to make a serious run for Champions League places, it's kind of going to have to start now. I mean, Villa are only a couple of points off that 5th place, which looks like it could well end up being Champions League football for next season.
But we thought that this time last year, though.
Well, exactly. I mean, exactly. That was what I was about to go on to say. It's not a guarantee, and Villa were in the same position last year, and they needed to get top 4. So it's almost a slight reversal of what happened last year, where Villa were in the top 4, almost chasing the title up until around December, January time, and it was the other clubs hunting Villa down. Now it feels like Villa are almost trying to get onto a bit of a run and become the hunters of the teams above them. So they're relying a little bit on Nottingham Forest not replicating their first half of the season form in the second half of the season. So I think, important that Villa start to pull together a few results now, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like this statement kind of does get said a lot, and usually rightly so. But Adam Wright saying big week for Villa coming up, possibly season defining. I mean, given the results on Wednesday in the Champions League, things aren't as bad as they could have been. There's still a good chance to win that game against Celtic and finish 8th, although it would be so Villa to finish 9th in the Champions League table, wouldn't it? That would be one of the most peak Villa things ever. And then to get Real Madrid in the playoffs or someone of that ilk. But Adam is right. With the game on Sunday against West Ham at home, bearing in mind what happened in the week, and then the Champions League straight away again next week, we'll know where we're at a bit more. So it does feel a big week.
I think so. This is what we're here for, though. This is what Aston Villa players are here for. It's what the supporters are here for. They're here for these big weeks and these big games. You know, I think if at the start of the Champions League campaign, I think if you'd have offered us, one game, potentially, obviously we're kind of relying a little bit on things going Villa's way elsewhere. But if you were going to offer Villa this one game to try and secure top 8, maybe they would have taken it. I think. Don't get me wrong. I think Villa probably have left a few points out there in the games that they've had in the Champions League so far. But I think if you'd have offered them that at the start, I think there would have been quite a few supporters that would have taken that. And then, this weekend against West Ham, and then I think it's Wolves, isn't it, the following weekend? So 2 really significant Premier League games either side of this Celtic fixture. And if Villa can take maximum points from the 2 Premier League games, as well as securing a victory against Celtic, I think the top 8 thing is a kind of side issue. I think that's a great week. Even if Villa don't secure top 8, I think it's a great week if you win all 3 of those matches.
Yeah, Michael Smith saying here, Villa tend to never do anything easy and always go down to the wire. Playoffs, avoiding relegation, 4th, top 8 in the Champions League, not easy being a Villa fan. It's right, it's not an easy gig, is it? It's been something I've struggled with for my entire life. I mean, Villa v West Ham, we have to talk about John Duran. We'd be remiss not to. I'm not sure if he's come up in any of your shows this morning, John Duran. I know there's been some strange Saudi Arabia links. Did you talk about John Duran today?
No, we didn't. We didn't today. To be honest, I haven't. I've been a bit busy, so I haven't really seen Saudi links. Was it from legitimate places? Those Saudi
I don't
links?
know. I mean, he's not. Let's face it, he isn't going to go there. Even if they're interested, John Duran, I'm telling you now, will not go to Saudi Arabia. He backs himself, wants to play at the highest level possible at that age. If he went there, it would be a complete travesty. Came on midweek next to Ollie Watkins. Unai Emery said after the game, I shouldn't have done that. That was a mistake, and we've seen before it hasn't really worked. Came on and scored the winner against West Ham. They bidded for him in the summer. They bidded for him in this window as well. Apparently, if you believe that, if you believe David Sullivan, does feel a little bit like a plant to me. If I'm being perfectly honest, does John Duran play this way? I mean, it's a question we speak about every week. Who, apart from when he's suspended, who is going to play up front for Villa this weekend? Will it be Watkins again, or will it be box office John Duran against West Ham?
Feels to me like it's going to be John Duran, but then I actually thought that he would start in midweek, and I was surprised when I saw Ollie Watkins' name on the team sheet against Monaco. So I thought he would start then, and I'm of the same mind that he would start on Sunday against West Ham. I mean, there have been reliable journalists talking about this bid from West Ham to Aston Villa. I think there's no other way to describe, if it is what was reported as around 57 million, that is a derisory offer. I don't think Villa would even go anywhere near that. I don't even think they pick up the phone. They just leave it on 2 blue ticks if that's a kind of offer that is going to be sent in. I actually don't think John Duran would be that interested now in going to West Ham, which I think would probably have been a change in his position from in this transfer window to the summer, when there was a clear intention or a clear kind of appetite from him to go to West Ham. That obviously didn't happen. And now I think in some ways what Villa supporters had seen as kind of bared out a little bit, in terms of, I think in the summer, some of the Villa fans were like, well, if he stays and he gets minutes, then he's going to be above the level of West Ham. And I feel like he's got to that point already, given the exposure that he's had in the Champions League, given the goals that he's scored this season. You already feel like his exposure has now gone beyond West Ham, and there's other clubs of a higher stature. I'm not meaning that as a real criticism of West Ham. It's just where they are at the moment in terms of rebuild. There's things going on the pitch, off the pitch at West Ham, and I think already he's kind of his eyes are looking beyond West Ham, if his eyes are even looking beyond Aston Villa at the moment, which I don't think they are at all. So I would expect him to start, and I mean, who'd bet against him scoring, because he's that type of player. When he's in the headlines, he likes to do outrageous things, and it would be the perfect moment for him, live on the telly, to go and do something outrageous against West Ham. And that's the thing that has really struck me, actually, about John Duran over the last few months, since the start of the season, really. I think more so now than ever before, he is a player that neutral people who don't support Aston Villa, who support other teams, come up to you and say, oh God, he looks like a good player. I always love to watch him. He's great. And, for Villa, all of Villa's communications as well, engagements online, not just in this country, around the world. To have a player like John Duran, not just his quality, but the reach that he has with other football fans. I've noticed that much more this season than ever before. It feels like he is on the radar of a lot of people now and a lot of football fans.
Yeah, I mean, what I was saying earlier was I wasn't saying that I didn't believe that West Ham have bid, but it's a very David Sullivan thing to, let's just make a bid that we know is not going to get accepted, but let's just say that we've done it, and then the fans will think or know that we're trying. And again, the Saudi links, I think someone said they've come from Mike McGrath from the Times, so it's a genuine thing. I'm not saying that they haven't. I'm just saying he won't go there. I do not think in a million years John Duran goes to Saudi Arabia at this time in his career. West Ham, incidentally, the Athletic are reporting that they're in for Andre Silva on loan from Leipzig, looking like he might be their striker replacement. So we want to keep an eye on. But Dave, they won't have a striker for this weekend. Really, everyone seems to be injured.
Yeah, and that's been a problem. I think they've played. Well, it was at Villa Park, wasn't it? That Fulkrug pulled up with that injury. I did feel a bit sorry for him, because those are the ones where you're not under challenge, and your hamstring goes. That you know how bad that feels for the player, and someone who suffered a lot of injuries actually at the start of the season and hasn't really managed to make an impact on the Premier League because of those injuries. So they're going to be without him. Obviously, Mikel Antonio's out as well for the foreseeable. And it means, I think, that Lucas Paquetá has almost been playing as a kind of false nine alongside Kudus up front. And then runners from midfield as well. Jarrod Bowen is obviously another huge miss for West Ham. He's not going to be back until, I think, next month at the very earliest, middle of next month to late February for Jarrod Bowen. So West Ham are struggling in the forward areas. That's why they're chasing a striker this month. That's why they're after Andre Silva from RB Leipzig. And I think it's not a great hand for Graham Potter to be dealt with when he's lost two of his main strikers and his kind of talisman forward as well, who can play up front, but has obviously played a lot out wide as well. So it's a really difficult one for Graham Potter. And actually, I saw a lot of the game, West Ham against Crystal Palace, and they looked very poor at home. I know they had a man sent off near the end, but West Ham struggled in that game.
Yeah, I mean, they've got Ings to call upon, haven't they? We saw him make a cameo against us in the FA Cup, but he seems reluctant to start. Danny Ings, he'll probably come on at some point from the bench. Villa have got got a new player in their ranks in Andre Garcia. They've also got Marlon, who was cup tied in the week, back amongst things as well. Emery hasn't done his press conference yet, so we don't know any kind of injury news around. John McGinn would probably be the main one. We know Anana's going to be out again. I don't think Barkley from the initial timescale would be back for this one either. So Emery's got some decisions to make, not only with the number 9, but more so the makeup of the midfield area, given that players are missing their day.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, form and injury dictates that it could be a difficult team selection. I think Barkley is probably at least a week away. There was an open training session in front of the cameras ahead of the Monaco game, which took place on Monday. John McGinn was there. He was doing some individual work with coaches. He looked like he was pretty much ready to join the group. He was doing some intensive running and passing drills in front of the cameras in the open section. So if he's managed to get a couple of sessions with the main group, the first one was probably today, actually, having come back. Maybe Thursday, they would have done a better session yesterday. But if he's managed a couple of training sessions before the game on Sunday, maybe you consider starting him or having him amongst the team. It's a difficult one with hamstrings because you want to make sure that the player's ready when they come back. You don't want to have to aggravate that sort of injury again, and then you're without the player for a longer period of time. So a lot may depend on what happens with John McGinn this weekend. And I think if he is fit, maybe he starts on the right-hand side at the weekend, and there's a bit of a reshuffle. Tielemans plays central midfield, Morgan Rogers plays the 10. The other option then, if McGinn doesn't make it, is you potentially continue with Morgan Rogers on the right and Tielemans as the 10, but then you've got an issue in central midfield. Does Bogard start in that position? And then the other option, I guess, is Daniel Marlon. Has he seen enough from him since signing that he's confident he'll be able to make an impact?
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. I think Ramsey, given he was pretty much rested in midweek, only played about 5-10 minutes in that game. I think he's a lock on the left. Guess then Rogers could play as a 10, and then Bailey on the right would be my hunch of how we might go, with Tielemans then moving back next to Boubacar Kamara, which I'm fine with, which then gives you Marlon as an option off the bench. I'm guessing that's what we'll probably do, but we'll probably know more when Unai Emery speaks later.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't actually mention Leon Bailey there. The only reason I didn't was I think it looked like he was struggling in midweek.
I think he just had a bad game. I think that you could see on his face when he was coming off the pitch, he was kind of. I don't know. I'm not an expert at reading facial expressions, but the gist I got from his face when he was coming off the pitch was, I wasn't very good in that game.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, players know themselves, don't they, when things haven't gone as they would have liked. So, yeah, that was kind of the only reason I didn't really mention Leon Bailey, but he could have another opportunity, and maybe that would be due to other players not being available, that he's got another opportunity. It's down to him to kind of take that now, because in a fortnight's time, Marlon is probably going to be right up to speed and pushing him. There's still an opportunity, I think, for Marlon to start, because he has been playing this season. It's not like he's coming in having had no football. So I think if Marlon's ready, he could start, but maybe Unai Emery wants to maybe ease him in over the first couple of weeks.
Declan Devlin's right to mention Emi Buendia here, asking whether he'll get another start. Probably was one of the only Villa players that came out with any credit from the game on Tuesday, but you kind of got the feeling that was his chance to start was in the Champions League, and I don't feel it will be on Sunday.
Yeah, I mean, I'm so pleased for him, because he's been out for so long, and part of me thinks that if he was doing so well in that pre-season, that if he doesn't get the injury that he got, he would have played a much more prominent role last season. And it just so happened that he got the injury, and then Villa had to not move on from him, but they had to fill gaps, and they had to get players in order to kind of negate the impact of his injury. And now he's fought his way back. And I did say in one of the previews the other week that I thought he was in his substitute appearances, it felt like he was coming back to showing his true level. Decision making looked like it was getting better. General sharpness was looking good, and I was so pleased that he started that game and had a real positive match. I mean, I saw a lot of the stuff after the midweek game, and I think there just needs to be a bit of a reality check sometimes. Like, I don't think Villa were awful in midweek. On another day, you defend a set piece better and you walk away with a point. I don't think Villa were awful, but yeah, I mean, Buendia had a good game. I liked his performance. He probably couldn't walk the next day, having clocked in 90 minutes there. So I feel like Sunday might come too soon in his kind of recovery from a first proper full 90 minutes in a good while, since the Carabao Cup, I think it was. So it feels like it's come too soon for him. The other kind of strand to that is, obviously, European football is much different to the Premier League. The pace of European football might suit him better, which is slightly slower. The Premier League, obviously, much more quicker. So let's hope he's able to continue and make another impact, because I suspect he'll be on the bench. I suspect he'll come on again on Sunday.
Yeah, and then obviously we all know who the goalkeeper will be. Defence probably picks itself at the moment. Villa have let Diego Carlos go. Pau Torres is injured. New signing, I don't think Garcia, you'll see him. He'll be on the bench for this one, I would think. I don't think you'll see him at any point during the game. Bergard is kind of covering midfield off at this point as well. So it's going to be Concert. It's going to be Mings with Cash, and I'd imagine Luca Dean at fullback. I suppose on the transfer front as well, Villa having let Diego Carlos go, the player that they've earmarked as a replacement doesn't sound massively keen on coming, which is not ideal. Shades of Villa in the Championship with only two centre-backs fit at the club, David.
Yeah, Villa need to do something, don't they? I think, and it leaves at the moment two fit centre-backs, senior centre-backs. I mean, Lamar Bogard, I think, performed well in pre-season, but he's mostly been used at right back and latterly, as we saw against Arsenal, in central midfield. So I think Unai Emery regards him as someone who is ready, but I think he would like some more senior cover, having lost a player that of the experience level of Diego Carlos. I think he would like someone who can bring that kind of seniority to the side. So, yeah, it does look like Villa are a little bit light at centre-back at the moment.
Yeah, another centre-back that can play right-back would be really, really helpful for Villa at this point. I would say, because Bardet apparently is not. He's got reservations over whether he'll play over Konsa, but the fact that Villa have signed a younger right back rather than a senior right back would tell me that you come into play a fair few games at right back as well. I would think.
Yeah, 100%. I think either a centre back that can play right back or a right back that can play centre back would be top of the shopping list between now and the 3rd of February.
Yeah, still a little bit of time, isn't there, as well? Just over a week. I remember Jacob saying early doors in the transfer window that Villa will sign 3 players. Of course, they've already signed 2, so we wait on that 3rd player. Let's finish then, as ever, with the hot/freezing cold take. And Michael Smith asking, did Dave Reed remember to prepare for a hot take?
As always, no.
Oh.
But I'm going to go with a Duran. 2 goals from Duran.
Oof,
is that too much? Too far?
I mean, you can tell that you go to say something because you've not prepared, and then you
and then I go
a little bit too big every time because you panic that you haven't prepared it. That's very much how it feels to me.
So easy to read, aren't I? So easy to read.
David, easy to read. That's what they're calling you in the chat over the next few weeks. It falls similar in line to what I was going to predict. In all honesty, I was going to say, I'm not sure who's going to start. But I'm going to go for Ollie Watkins and John Duran to score in the game. That's my hot/freeze, probably freezing cold take ahead of the game, David. So that does us. David can go home now after. I know that those early starts are an absolute killer. So David can go home now and not relax because he's got a young baby, but he can go home after his day. His day is done. Be back on Monday with a show in some form off the back of the West Ham game. And those of you that are going to Villa Park on Sunday, I will see you there. Please do all the things that I talk about every single week. Like and subscribe with your post notifications on YouTube with a little cheeky comment as well. And on the audio platforms, if you can give us a good review and 5 stars, that would be really, really appreciated. I mean, enjoy your weekend up until the point of Sunday. And then Sunday kind of makes or breaks how it goes. Favela says, please read Twitch. I do read Twitch. Here we go. It's there. We do look at it, but the comments come through thick and fast, and sometimes I don't see every single one that comes through. Quick question from Farky before we finish. Dave Reed, I know the answer to this. Has any player scored 2 goals in the same match this season for Villa?
I definitely won't know the answer to that.
Just having a quick think. It's not coming. It's not springing to my mind that they have. Usually you think, Watkins or Duran must have done. But I don't think they have. No. I'm going to go with no. No player has scored more than 2 goals in the same match this season for Watkins scored 2 against Everton. Watkins did score 2 against Everton, didn't he? A header. And Watkins scored 2 against Everton. First home game of the season. Favela saying Watkins v Wolves. I don't think he did because Konsa scored in that game. Definitely. Watkins, Duran. Yeah. So it was the Everton game. Everton game is the only time this season that someone has scored 2 goals for Aston Villa. What a lovely way to leave the show. Thank you ever so much to those that have joined us live. And thank you to everyone that will go on and watch and listen. And thanks once again to my good friend, David Reid. Have a wonderful weekend. See you on Sunday up the Villa.